starts out pretty nice and it gets pretty sloppy towards the end.
Really? A lot of booze.
That's what Mark Henry tells me.
Call the meeting order. We have an invocation. Now's your chance, Toby. Give us your blessing. With the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing on the agenda, approval of the minutes for March 21st.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion by Mark to approve the minutes of March 21st. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Keaton seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Financial matters, appropriation ordinance number 6.
Where's our sheets of paper at?
There wasn't very much for you to do.
Okay, I know there wasn't. I'm just kind of,
I know, I feel like I don't have anything to fiddle with.
I'll do it this time.
no, that's all right. I just,
I appreciate the effort to save a tree.
Yes. Despite that unjust criticism from other commissioners here. We have nothing else to do today.
So judgmental.
I don't see anything that sticks out to me. I'd move to approve ordinance number 6.
A motion to approve ordinance number 6 by Chuck. Do I have a second?
I second.
Christie seconds. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Pick that up in Topeka. Public comments. Yeah, no one's, wow. No public comments. Proclamations, Fair Housing Month.
Would you like to read it, or?
No?
I
Just
read
tell
it.
us about it.
I want Jim to read it.
This informal group, you could tell with the
I
crowds
get
out
an email
there.
from the state every year to do this, so I really don't speak to anybody face to face about it, but after this gets not approved, but after you accept this as declaring April as Fair Housing Month, then I will send a signed copy to them and they will deliver it to the governor.
You know, I think to speak to this, I think it's really, I think it's pretty phenomenal that it's kind of come to be such a kind of foregone conclusion that we would approve a proclamation of fair housing when really it hasn't been that long ago where there needed to be these sorts of procedures put in place to ensure fair housing for all. So I think it's truly a statement of hopefully how far we've come, and we still have plenty of work to do, but it's pretty amazing that once upon a time we could get away from not providing fair housing based on simple demographic.
And it's good to have this before you, because in the past, we have needed to post this if we're going for, I think it was CDBG.
Mhm.
Certain grants, they want this posted at different places, so it's good to have this done every year.
Okay. We will accept. Moving on to mower bids.
Mayor and Commissioners, the city received 4 bids for the mower that we sent out. One of them from CTI, Budrow Muffler, and 2 of them from Career Mower and Electric. The Budrow Muffler one did not meet the specs. They bid a mid-mount mower instead of a front mount. So it was a low bid, but it didn't meet the specs. So that's why I'm going with Career Mower and Electric for the $14,872. And that would be the recommendation, to go with Career Electric for that.
Now, did I read this right, where the 725 and the 900, the only difference is 5 horse?
Yeah.
That was the
that's
only
what
thing
I
I
said.
seen
Yes.
different?
Yes.
Okay.
You know, Ron, this is maybe a suggestion for next time, but you might ask as part of their bid to go out and provide a full demonstration. You know, get them to CTI to do a week of the mowing, get Budrose to do a week of the mowing, John Deere to do a week of the mowing.
Stop at your house.
To see which one might perform better. I mean, they can
During
provide
the
specs, but
season,
which one's
yeah.
gonna do the job?
Yeah.
Where you get
I
away
know
with
John Deere would bring
5
one
weeks
out
of
and let
mowing.
you do that with it. Because they brought one out to the complex before and let us do that with it.
Now, the issue with the mid-mount, as you said, is that it doesn't get in and around the
Right.
gravestones as well.
And I have
Markers.
one of them already, and we bought one a long time ago, and I can't get in there with it.
Okay.
It's good everywhere else, but that area there where I need it, I gotta buy something I can use.
So Jeremy got a higher price truck from us, so you want the higher price lawnmower.
Well, if you want the higher price one, it's $17,000.
So this is gonna alleviate a lot of weed eating for everybody?
It will.
Okay.
I used to have all front mount mowers. They were all Hustlers, and the Hustler mower that we bought was a commercial mower. And Jimmy don't get them no more because he's just got household stuff up there. And they were 25,000 a piece, but them were nice mowers.
Yeah.
And you could dip in there just like these grasshoppers and these John Deeres you can with the front mounts. And in fact, I still got a couple of them, but they're getting, kind of old. So,
All things considered, it seemed like the 725 from Career was going to give us the most what we got for the lowest price. So I would move to accept the bid from Career Mower and Electric in the amount of $14,872 for the Grasshopper 725 DT front mount.
We have a motion by Chuck. Do I have a second?
I second.
Keaton seconds. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
thank
Motion
you.
carries. Moving on to the manager's report.
Mayor and Commissioners, tonight I have a little bit more lengthy report for you, so please bear with me. If I get to talking too fast, slow me down, because I can tend to do that. First, wanted to visit a little bit about Refresh Concordia 2018. That's our annual citywide cleanup that will begin this next week. We have preliminary work that begins this coming weekend with the Sisters of St. Joseph coordinating the volunteer effort in conjunction with the city to kind of help kick that off. And then beginning on Monday, April 9th, Ron and the street crews will be going around picking up the piles of sorted items at the curbside. And so we are asking everyone to have items at their curbside by Sunday. We haven't got the route completely mapped out yet. Ron knows it and is probably just not sharing it with me so that I don't speak out of turn. The route for, I'm teasing you. Okay, well, more information there. Depends on where we end up. We are asking everyone if they want to share some photos with us. They can. We will need some photos to help close out the final grant report that we received from the Community Foundation for Cloud County Dane Hansen grant for the cleanup. So if anybody has any photos they want to share with us, they can. Also talked a little bit this morning in department head meeting how it'd be nice if those that did share photos, if they wanted to put those on Facebook, use the hashtag Refresh Concordia 2018. That would kind of help us out as well. Any questions on that? Moving on, we also have a walking trail naming contest coming up. The community-wide walking trail, you'll see these purple cards out at our local restaurants, especially the ones downtown. It is a perforated card. On one side, you have the naming suggestion and the name and phone number of the person making the suggestion. On the other side is the suggested walking trail name and the date that they suggested that. They have till April 20th to turn in these cards and to either the water department drop box out here or bill payment here inside. On the other half of the card is a little bit of a history about the walking trail, Larry's vision, Levon's donation, the KDOT grant, things of that nature, and then a map on the backside as well so people know the location of the walking trail that we're discussing. Our goal is to have those in by April 20th. We have a committee formed that will vet those. Christy's part of that committee representing the commission. We'll narrow that down to 3 spots, and then we'll bring those 3 finalists to you and have you select the first, second, third place winner from those. We do have a small prize for each of those finalists, and we'll ask them to join us at the May 2nd commission meeting to accept those awards. Any questions about the walking trail naming contest? No? Okay. Just wanted to share a little bit, got to do a little bit of outreach this past week and today at both Glasgow and Miltonville schools, talking with them about the differences between mayor, council, and manager commission forms of government, what local government does for us in general. And we had a couple of different activities that we did that I thought I'd share with you. One was an activity with M&Ms, and we took some toy trucks, a toy fire truck, toy ambulance, toy police car, some construction equipment, trash trucks, and then we had some Lego people. We had a clear plastic cup behind each one of those, and I gave each student a Dixie cup full of 10 M&Ms, and they were a commissioner, and that was their tax revenue that they would receive for that year, and they had to decide which cup they were going to put those M&Ms in, or how many M&Ms they were going to put in each cup. So we talked a little bit about how taxation works and the revenue that we get, then how we have to prioritize our budget so we know what to spend. That activity was pretty well received, and then we also did a skit, and we used the topic of the pool slide that was being purchased at Concordia, and how we decide what improvements to do, what scope of improvements to do, and how to fund those improvements and our options for funding. So we had a little bit of a role play, and each person got to wear a sign and got to read a part of a skit, and we had a lot of fun. We even got embellished the discussion a little bit for some humor, and talked about how maybe we could spend a little bit of the money toward a fishing pond instead of pool improvements. And one commissioner in the skit said, well, maybe, I like the idea of the fishing pond, and suggested maybe stocking the pool with fish and inviting families to come fish on Friday evenings. And another commissioner said, well, that's great, but I like to fish on Sundays, and I'm afraid the kids will scare the fish away. And then the mayor had to pull them back on topic. So it was a really good role play.
Pretty
activity.
lifelike then.
I like the M&M's part. We gotta try that one.
Yeah,
Where-
yeah. It really was good activities, and it really,
To the pool might actually save us money.
Yeah.
it really did bring to light kind of how it was difficult to make decisions and how you really had to prioritize and how it was really tough. And so I hope that they learned and understood that and learned how to discern things, work together as a team, and in the end come for the good of the whole. So that was a really good activity. Finally, I did put together a summary report based on the listening tours that we had done. Pass those over to Tony and Jim. And you'd all seen the summary notes that I'd sent out. Actually, just pass these down.
Thank you.
From each one of the reports, and I'd also sent the summaries out to all city staff departments after each summary as well. So everybody's seen the summary. We put it together. The last 2 pages of the report show kind of a numerical summary, and what we did was we took each item, placed it into a category, and then tracked how many times that item was discussed at the listening tours. And so on your column that says number of hits, that's the number of times that each item was discussed. We then went through and prioritized those. The shaded items on the threes, we decided to shade everything that was hit three times and above. Those talked about 3 times and above. And then categorize those and then put them in a rank order. And so what we came up with was property maintenance had the most discussion. Infrastructure maintenance had the second most discussion. Community identity was third. Floodplain maps and management was fourth. And taxes being too high was the 5th item. If we work backwards through those items, taxes being too high, really we recognize that as a city government, we are 1/4 of the large piece of pie that is a taxing entity here in Cloud County. We also have the county, the school district, and the college that have a major contribution toward the mill levy. So we do recognize that we need to watch and control our expenditures and be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, but that we're not the only person that does tax. And so we didn't put I'm recommending not putting a lot of emphasis on that, but we know that as we work through the budget, we will work to be good stewards of taxpayers' money on that side of things. Working our way up through floodplain maps and management, there were 3 different subtopics within that, and the one about storm sewer being too small in Northeast Concordia was the one that got three discussion points, or was talked about 3 different times. We know we have small storm sewers in that area of town. We know that was an area of town that was the original community. We know that needs to be addressed. And so we will take a look at that, but we're not sure that scope of problem may not be too large to tackle within the 12 months, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's a long-term focus. If we go up again, community identity, the sub points of discussion in that area that were discussed 3 or more times being Concordia being identified as the orphan train town, that neighborhood identities are needed, much like in the context of that was citing Hood Park and how they've done a great job creating their own positive community identity or neighborhood identity. And then another one that was a little bit disturbing was the assertion that Concordia needs to have a more welcoming attitude toward people who move into town or to businesses who want to come into town. And so those were all areas that we said these are really good. For the most part, they're positive. However, they're not something that we can legislate. These are actions that we need help from our citizens to really take on. And we do have some of those taking on with regard to the orphan train town and neighborhood identities. And we do need everyone's help to change that attitude to make sure that we are welcoming of those who want to come join us. We know how, what's the one thing we gain from these listening tours is we know how excited our residents are to live here and how much they think of this community and how prideful they are. And it is an honor to be able to share that with others who want to come here as well. So we would definitely want to share that with others who want to come. The top two items, as we move up to infrastructure maintenance, you'll see that one of the items that was mentioned was the 2018 improvements to the pool, and those will stretch through 2020. We talked a little bit about the $2 per month water bill charge, and of the 3 times that this was discussed, 2 of those 3 comments were very positive. People were excited that we were making improvements to the pool, and they were willing to pay the charge. The other 2 items that were mentioned were maintenance of streets and paving the unpaved streets. You'll see some other columns on the spreadsheet where I have pursue further, and under streets maintenance, we've indicated yes. And we've also indicated this as being completed. And the reason that we've done that is because we have established an annual capital improvement plan. We're doing a 5-year look ahead, we're looking back, and the reason we count that as completed is because we know as city staff that we are taking a look at that every year, and we are prioritizing street maintenance every year. We are allocating through the budget process dollars towards street maintenance every year. So we feel like that's being addressed, that we have a system in place to address that. Up under property maintenance, again, if we work from bottom to top, items that were discussed included junkyards, recycling, trash receptacles, and trash service. Items that were discussed 3 or more times included commercial storefronts. And the context of that discussion related to those that were occupied and those that were unoccupied. And the desire of those in attendance at this meeting was that everyone take a pride in the property that they own. They keep them well kept, they keep them up, they keep them code compliant, they keep them looking attractive, whether they're occupied or not occupied. That was the general theme. As we talk about a nuisance being weeds, cars, things of that nature, again, yes, we need to pursue that further. We do have a nuisance program in place. It's just a lengthy one. It takes a long time to work through a nuisance abatement. So as we talked with city staff and specifically in my talks with Bruno, we'd like to see a process put in place that would make that a shorter time frame. But that's going to take a lot of work to work through to make sure that we're doing something that's fair and equitable for everybody. Helping out neighbors was discussed 4 different times, and that again is going to be kind of a community effort toward just helping out your neighbors as they need help. There was a lot of positive discussion there too from a lot of people that did help out their neighbors and do work to help out their neighbors in their neighborhoods, and that's a very good thing. We want to see that continue. The demolition program and subsequent reconstruction, that was also discussed 4 more times at 4 more sessions. We have a good demolition program. We could always allocate more dollars toward that to help property owners take down structures. But what was also discussed was that we need to find a way to rebuild those structures on the vacant lots. If we continue to tear down structures, we, in essence, decrease that overall tax base. So if we want to maintain our revenue stream so that we can maintain our infrastructure, we need to keep that tax base at a level that supports that level of maintenance. So we need to find a way to get new structures built back on those vacant lots. Landlord licensing was also mentioned, and this again was in the context of maintaining properties and making sure that they were habitable, fit to live in, things of that nature. And that was mentioned at 5 or more of these, at 5 of these 6 listening tours. So we are considering that we do need to pursue that. There's multiple avenues of investigating that a little bit further, and I think that what that's going to appear is we'll do a little bit of research to collect some data on properties and problems and conditions that we have. We'll also be taking a look at a code called the International Property Maintenance Code, reading through that to see if some of that has some applicability for us. Then our plan would be to bring that forward to you commissioners as a study session, invite some of our landlords of the rentals to the table, have a discussion with them very similar to what we did with the liquor stores and CMB licensing, so we can hear their perspective on the subject and then decide where to go from there. But for this point in time, it's just one thing that was discussed at 5 of those 6 listening tours, so I think it warrants further investigation. Blight in general was mentioned with a lot of reference to the good work that's being done at Clyde and Jamestown. And again, we'll point to demolition program there as well as the adoption of that International Property Maintenance Code. And it's those 2 avenues that have helped those communities to be able to get where they're at today, plus just a general sense of community pride. They want their community to look good. And they do have some private individuals who have taken the efforts and taken the steps to make that happen. Annual citywide cleanup was mentioned at 5 of the 6 listening tours. We have that listed as being already addressed because we have decided to go ahead and make that an annual cleanup event. Do have to thank Ron and his crews for their willingness to do that. And then sidewalks were also mentioned at every single listening tour as an effort that needed to be maintained. I feel like we've already addressed that in a way as far as we can from a governmental perspective, and that we've opened up the curb and gutter program to offer some assistance to those who want their sidewalks more maintained. And I believe, Ron, Stacy, help me out, how many applications do we have as of this year? 37.
37.
Wow.
37 applications for
You know
this
what's
year.
amazing about that is that was number 6, it got 6 hits, topped the list. And it shows that people aren't only concerned, but when we offered up a program, they're jumping on it.
Yes,
So it's more than just talk.
yes, there's
And I
action
think that's
behind it.
very encouraging.
It is. So you can see that summary there on the spreadsheet. I do have a written narrative summary, and I think it's worth mentioning that we really made a concerted effort to hold these listening tours in the evening time in the hopes of getting more folks. We made a concerted effort to make sure that we did not conflict with many other community events happening. I felt like we advertised it well. We had great cooperation from our media. Again, thank you, both Toby and Jim, for helping us out there. Very well promoted, along with being on the city's website as well as on the city's Facebook page as well. Even though we did that, we had a total of 52 residents at the evening sessions and 35 at the noon session. And this, when I look at the 2016 census estimate for Concordia, 5,179, this is still only 1.68% of our population that turned out to visit with us. So you can take that for what it's worth, in that we made the effort and we asked people to come out, and we didn't get a very good turnout, but we still heard a lot of good feedback. Or you can take that this is the only 1.68% of the population, so maybe it's not representative of what the community really wants. But these were the people that did show up to make the effort to talk with us about these items. There was a little bit of duplication. There were a couple people that showed up to more than one session, but for the most part, it really was different people at each session saying the same things.
The cookies were so good.
They were excellent, weren't they?
That's-
I think, though, with this being the first effort really in recent history anyway, that hopefully folks will hear that their thoughts were heard and considered, and that we'll work to act on those that gather the most greatest consensus. So hopefully we'll continue to, when people hear that and know that, and maybe more likely to feel comfortable coming up and sharing.
I think the thing that I got out of it the most was their ideas and their concerns. And when you read over this list and the whole thing, I mean, this is all stuff that if you walk the city, you see. And so it wasn't, I mean, they're really putting in some thought to it. And so, and if you look at it, we had a different variety of people. We had some young, we had some old. But I mean, it was pretty much spread out. And if you look at the ones that got the most hits, that is probably the city's concern. So I think although it was only 1%, the information that they provided us, I think, kind of supports the whole city as a whole on what we need to look at in the whole thing. So I
Sure.
found that encouraging and well worthwhile.
Yeah, and the representation that we had was from all areas of the city as well, too.
Yeah.
It wasn't just one neighborhood coming to each one of them, so that was really good. We did talk about some of this stuff in department head meeting this morning, and department heads were also in agreement with where we had our priorities focused. So we do believe that we need to look at the property maintenance segment over the next 12 months to see what kind of actions we could take to help improve things and to show some action on that part. Are there any other questions or discussion on that? Okay, that's all that I had for my report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Very good. Commissioners' comments.
I spent Easter and several days around that down in Austin, Texas, over towards the Lakeway area up by Lake Travis, where our daughter and son-in-law live, and noticed something really interesting. They had signs in their neighborhood that they're blue signs, white lettering, and it says littering is unlawful, but the U, N, and L were small and about half the size as the awful part of it. And I think that's kind of a neat thing, you know, to consider. I'm not saying we need to run out and do that, but we get to the point where we think that littering is a problem in our town. We talked about that in one of the tours, or one of the listening events. But it's just an observation I thought was kind of neat. That's it.
Chuck?
I don't have anything.
Christie?
Nope.
No, nothing here either. Staff comments?
Mayor and Commissioners, I've been approached by the Lions Club and the Rotary Club. They're gonna purchase a couple trees and plant them in City Park. And that's gonna be on April 27th at 2 p.m. And they're asking if the mayor would come say a couple of words.
April 27th at 2 p.m.
I think you should have to dig the hole.
Let's not get carried away. No, we're at,
We're gonna probably be down there right by the swimming pool, in that parking lot there by the swimming pool,
okay.
in between the swimming pool and the tennis courts. They're gonna have one tree there and then one back out there a little ways. That's what I got planned.
I will put that on my calendar.
Okay, thank you. I'll tell them you'll
Thank
be
you.
there.
I was just gonna say that our audit completed, well, somewhat completed here yesterday. It was a day and a half like normal, and it went like normal, so I hope it will all be good. They'll finish up at the office, and I'm guessing they'll come present probably the beginning of May. I would guess that's when they'll have it all printed and ready to go, but, and Sam got to talk to them, so hopefully
Yeah,
that went well too.
That was a thrill for him.
Mayor and Commissioners, April 2nd, Superintendent Breeze and his staff welcomed us to the grade school for an active shooter exercise. Concordia Fire and EMS, Police Department, Sheriff's Department, County Health Center, student nurses, and the college all participated, where we had a simulated clearing of the building after a shooting incident, and a simulated rescue teams went in and removed 5 simulated casualties who were then transported to Clyde County Health Center by ambulance, and then they were treated there by student nurses. We will continue to do this kind of training. Unfortunately, in this world, it's kind of a necessity. But Chief Voss did a great job of coordinating with all the agencies involved.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks.
Chief, I think that's great that you are out there doing that, and I think just having you out there and people seeing that and knowing that we're there, that you're there, I should say, that's a good thing. Have to make them feel better. Anybody else?
A little tidbit from the rec. We're starting our draft stuff next week. So we'll have baseball on Monday night, softball Tuesday night, and K-18 Wednesday night, and T-ball finalized by Thursday. But as we're trying to do some new things this year with coaches, we had our first coaches clinic that we're trying out, and did it last 26th of March up at the college, and it was a little bit what I expected, but wasn't quite the turnout I expected. But it's kind of like the same thing. It was getting the ball rolling, and hopefully in the future clinics it really takes off. The people that came, I've heard feedback from all of them, and they absolutely loved it. College baseball program was great, of giving handouts and demonstrations and their depth of knowledge, and even had the softball, which is kind of ironic. There's been so much more complaint about youth softball coaching, especially in the pitching aspect, and we only had 2 softball coaches show up. And that was one of the biggest needs for the coaching clinic. But people all the way from Scandia came down and absolutely loved for 3-hour session. So that's one of our goals, to kind of help the coaches and volunteer parents that are coaching, help them along with different ideas and strategies. So we're
Hey,
getting going
Chris,
here next week.
what's your plans on handling the umpires and stuff this year?
As far as in getting
Yeah, good.
umpires,
Yes.
I mean, it's still a lot of the people that want to do it first, and then if I have to recruit more high school kids or older age kids, whatever it may be. Try not to bring in people from 40 miles away and having to pay them more if we don't have to,
Good.
obviously, but,
That's
you
the
know,
kind of
just-
reason I bring that question up, because first I've heard, there's complaints, people didn't like the umpires locally, and then your predecessors bringing people in from Salina and the whole thing, and it just didn't,
and
it seemed like a long ways away.
I've umpired a lot, and a lot of the grief umpires gets is because they're tentative out there. I think I can help, especially young umpires. Not telling them to be rude or anything, but assertiveness is a main thing with umpires and believing in your calls. And I think I can help kind of groom new umpires.
Super.
where we
Appreciate
eliminate
I also, as I guess I haven't been out there as much as some of the other folks, my kids are still fairly young and getting ready into there. I hope we can try to also convey that really up until a certain point, the point of going out and playing pee-wee ball is not to bring home a trophy, but rather to develop the skills of playing a sport, playing on a team, working together. That's why we have 8 and 9-year-olds out playing ball the way we do. It's not to, so I get really, on the surface, it's kind of humorous, but really done deep, it's really pretty troubling when you've got parents that are tearing apart an umpire for a good or a bad call for a 6-year-old's t-ball game. I mean, I think it's really important for us to remember why we have our kids out there and the real reason that we're trying to promote recreation and wellness. When we start getting older, high school, and maybe even junior high, it's understandable that the competitiveness steps up and it really starts making a difference. But we're out here to try to teach our kids how to be decent human beings with each other, and it doesn't really help when we got parents that are shouting at a high school umpire for a bad third base call on it.
That's going to be really my main overall emphasis across everything. With City League, and you go at it for what it's worth. It's about the enjoyment, it's about the development, it's about the participation for kids that want to do it. Travel ball's another entity.
Yep.
It's a different philosophy. For what we're doing here, City League, City Ball, it's for the development, enjoyment for the kids. So, like I said, it's not for the World Series or gold medals.
Let's get them interested in the sport first.
Yeah. So.
Having been involved in that with my kids, all I can say is good luck.
I'm a parent of a former umpire, and she came home and was very upset with how she was being treated. And we solved that by her parent going out and watching the games. That took care of it. I didn't have to do anything. I just had to be there.
Yeah.
And so, and I always enjoy, I'm not a sports person really, but I always enjoyed baseball and softball, so.
Yeah. I've umpired a lot and I've been yelled at a lot. And I think it's kind of funny. You just can't take it personal. And,
Well, it's a
Everybody's got
learning
their own
experience for the umpire too, the high school age umpire, if you've got them.
Thicken the skin a little.
Yeah, definitely, yeah,
What's really bad when the parents get so bad their own kids get embarrassed.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I've
that
seen that
happens, that happens regularly, I
Yeah.
think.
There's actually a sign that I saw that, when I first saw it, was like, we should put these up here. And it was posted in Georgia somewhere. And it said, dear parents, it said, dear parents, please remember, this sport is supposed to be fun. The umpires are human beings. And just a list of things. And at the very end, it said, oh, and by the way, your kid doesn't play for the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah,
And, it was one of those where it's, everybody just settle down.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Appreciate your
Thank you.
efforts, Chris.
16th Street is wrapping up, and we're just repairing the street. The north side is now open, south side's closed. And down here on 6th Street, they've started pouring sidewalks back, and tomorrow they'll start pouring the street.
Great.
Wow. For both blocks?
No,
Just the,
this is one they're on.
that's what I was saying.
Gonna try to finish the first block before they jump to the second block, so.
Well, it seems that they've done some digging around up in the second block, and I didn't know. if
Yeah,
was
that
part
was
of the-
that was to do their first bore
Sure.
under the street, so they just went the extra 200 feet. So really, the main is half laid down that block. so.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're a little bit ahead of schedule.
Yeah, they're
Don't
doing
wanna
good.
say that too loud.
Good.
They've only been on the job for,
We should pay
I think, 30 days. And this block has 54 days scheduled, so they're doing good.
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing else? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.